good now. Let's get started. Okay, here we go. Off we go to a grand old time. And everything is going to go great. Nothing could possibly go wrong. This will be nothing less than an absolutely amazing day, I believe. Okay, yeah, I needed to do some inventory management. So let's go do that. Off we go. Make sure that all my filters are still working. Yeah, okay. Looks like they are. Oh, I should grab the Temple of the Moon quest while I'm here. After all, no reason not to. Quests to do all the time.
Hello. A Shah fell out.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely had some interesting bugs. So while I was trying to turn my stream on, for some reason the World of Warcraft window was sized differently. Somehow it had gotten set to custom, which is weird because I haven't played since the last time I streamed. So I'm not sure what was up there. It just opened at a different resolution than I closed it at. And that caused it to not fit right on my streaming window. So I resized it back down to the same, back down to this aspect ratio, because in case, you know, you didn't hear me complain about it last time, I have an ultra wide monitor, which right now, because I'm not at my quote unquote usual place, normally I'm at my apartment, I have two monitors, and my second one is the one I game on because it has a better refresh rate, and it's a standard resolution, so it's a standard aspect ratio and everything. So it's not an ultra wide. Ultra wide is really nice in some cases, but when you're streaming, it means that the aspect ratio of if you full screen is wrong. So I can't full screen on this without messing up the aspect ratio. And if you want to see what that looks like, hop on over to my YouTube channel and look back a couple of videos, because there was one when I first switched to this setup that I didn't realize. Praise be to Elune and to your light, best heels. About this time, many of our order learned village reflecting their faith in Elune. If knowledge serves me, I believe the same holds true for your order also. When your business under Nasus is complete, I would seek out one of your high priestesses for further training.
Goddess watch over you.
Yeah, she tells me to go do my level 10 quest and get, I'm pretty sure it'll be resurrection, or the equivalent. Anyway, so what I was saying is, wait, I took Desperate Prayer. Is it? Oh, did it not take it? I thought I took it. Could have sworn I did. Yeah, I took Desperate Prayer. Screw off, Questy. Anyway, so what I was saying is life is great. True, but not what I was going to say. So the way, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I was talking about the aspect ratio issue. So I switched it back to a normal aspect ratio, and when I did, OBS, which is what I used to stream, just lost it. Like, I don't mean lost as in went crazy. I mean lost as in it just lost the window. It could not find the World of Warcraft window again. So that took some time to solve. All of that adds up to me starting the stream 3 minutes late, despite me being here, ready, with tweet out even, minutes before. Whatever. It happens. Okay. Got a couple hours of questing ahead of us, so let's go. Something I'm thinking I might do once I have time is designate a day as not World of Warcraft. This would be extra streaming time. So this would be once I have time to stream for more than 8 hours in a week. Yeah, so probably towards the end of this quarter. Because, yeah, I'm effectively like, so I have a part-time job. Um, so I have a part-time job. Then I have a lot of other obligations. So I have a part-time job. I'm in university, and I'm trying to do this. Wait, didn't I? Did I not grab the Relics of Awakening yet as this character? Oh, I remember why I was playing this character instead of my mage. It was because I ran out of bonus XP on my mage. I should actually keep playing my mage, since I probably have bonus XP back again. And there's a very real chance that my priest doesn't have enough bonus XP left to do the entirety of the Relics of Awakening quest without running out. Because, you know, yeah. Okay, so let's switch back to Bernadal and see how he's doing. Gosh darn, Bernadal, you look bad, man. I told you to dress like this. Oh, me? Oh, whoops, sorry about that. Anyways, we've got half a level of bonus XP to burn through. In other words, we're gonna go do these 3 quests down here and see where we are after that. But the reason I switched to Bernal is because he has a lot of run-around quests left. And that means that, you know, there's a fair number of quests here that don't require that I fight. No, I should conjure me some water. There we go. Okay. Let's keep on keeping on. Seriously though, Bernal's clothes look terrible. It needs to be fixed. Like, I usually focus on function over form in games like this, and even I'm like looking at him and I'm like, ew, what is that? That's why I'm so glad that most MMOs now have adopted, you know, effectively some kind of glamour, or you look like whatever outfit you want to no matter what you have equipped. Because, man, there's some outfits that just don't go together. It don't go together. Although I'm not sure those pants would go with anything. They definitely don't go with that, that's for sure. I love frost armor, it's so nice. It's such a cheat. Like, all the other classes have to actually deal with enemies, but wizard, or mage just gets to run past them. Why fight when you don't have to, says the mage. Why fight when you could instead just run past all of your problems? And you know, the mage is right. The mage is right. Why fight when you don't have to? Anyway, we shall keep on keeping on. So something that's always bothered me about most MMOs, which like it isn't really a solvable problem, but it's one of those things that has always really broken immersion for me, is that like I complete this quest. Look at this. I complete this quest. It's this whole quest chain where I bring all these things to whatever his name is, Denalin. Yeah, Denalin. And the game treats me like I'm the only one bringing these things to him. But I'm not. There's hundreds of us. And we all bring in stuff to him. He doesn't acknowledge it, but I know it's true. And it's weird to me that so many games just don't acknowledge that. And World of Warcraft is a little better about that than most, in that just in the design of their quests being ones that don't necessarily make no sense that way. There's some like this quest line that don't make sense, but there's a lot that are ambiguous enough about whether they've been done before that, you know, it's not super terrible, but there's a lot of stuff like that. And, you know, it makes sense because, you know, you want people to be able to experience the same content, and that means that that has to be true, you know? Like, that content has to be repeatable. Whoops. Uh-oh. Life is terrible right now. Life is pretty bad. How about you take a break? Did it just regen all of its? If I polymorph something, it counts as out of combat for it? Oh no, but will regenerate very quickly. Okay. I didn't realize that that was a thing. That was one of the effects of polymorph. I should probably read spells more often, huh? Anyway. It's fine. But so anyway, as I was saying, you know, it's a necessary trope of the genre. It's the way it kind of has to work because the way everything else works, and I don't know. I don't know of a good way to get rid of it, you know? There are a couple of ways that you can mitigate it. But they mainly involve like the easiest cop out is to have a lore in which regular revivals are a thing. So in which effectively you have a world in which things can be revived very easily. That's the easiest way around it. That is definitely the simplest way to deal with it, is to just say, well, you know, what if, though? What if we could just have this system where things just get revived regularly? But, you know, if you actually build that out to a whole world, world building's gonna have some problems with that. Because how do you deal with... You know, that means that the enemies are constantly reviving. And that has some implications for how your world's going to work as a whole. And you generally don't want any of those implications. None of those implications are good or favorable in pretty much any way. And oh god, I did not mean to get a second one of these. That was completely accidental. Hello, Mr. Muller. Can we talk about this? I'm gonna run out of health potions just from accidentally aggroing things, aren't I? That's the worst reason to be running out of health potions. Okay, how about we cast a few more fireballs on Mr. Muller here? Oh, he resisted my spell, and I think that might be what causes my death. Legitimately. If he hadn't resisted that spell, I could have just killed him. Because I could have just fire blasted him. But he resisted the spell. And so I died. That's unfortunate. Anyway, life is hard, man. No one understands. My melodramatic quoting aside. Yeah, so that's the easy way out, right? Is to have it in your lore, but that causes a lot of problems with the world building. So you're really just moving the problem, right? Like, no matter what, you're gonna have to do some creativeness. You're gonna have to do some creativity to make it okay. It's just a matter of where you do it. And that's pretty much, like, that's pretty similar to the tact that World of Warcraft takes. Everything just respawns super fast, but a lot of the dialogue tends to act like things have permanently died when literally nothing in this game permanently dies. So, you know, that's a little weird. And, you know, they just kind of hand wave all of that away because honestly, do we care? Not really. We all get the gist of the story of, you know, that thing that we killed, even though it's going to be alive in another 2 minutes. From the story's perspective, it is now dead. And we all get that. But yeah, so the other major way to handle it, and the one that I haven't, as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen any MMO do this, is have things actually just stay dead. But that's really hard. Because that means that's a design decision you'd have to build your entire system around, and every system, every MMO system right now is built around the idea that things respawn. So it'd be a complete paradigm shift from the way MMOs operate right now. But you could do it. You could build an entire MMO that's just based around that reality. Because if you built the MMO around it, you could make it work. But it's definitely it's a fundamental paradigm shift from how MMOs work right now. Because you'd have to have a lot of things like, well, if things don't respawn, how are they going to increase in number if they're not respawning? So how do we handle spawning? How do we handle rare or stronger enemies? Like, all of these things. It's this whole thing. I think it'd make a really interesting game, though. But it would definitely have to be very carefully made. You know, like I said, you'd have to build your entire system with that in mind. You wouldn't be able to do it any other way. Like, the entire system would have to have come from, we're going to do this as the start there. I'm fine. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. I'd appreciate if I could leave combat at some point here. Thank you. Now my health regen can start ticking up. Okay. Now my plan is to go up there and get some mossy tumors. Whoops. Oh well. Oh, that's annoying. Gonna take an extra hit or two. Because of that. We're 3. Jeez. Ew. Anyway. But yeah, so I think that'd be a really interesting MMO to play. And if I ever had, you know, millions of dollars to just throw down the drain. That's the MMO I would make, is one that was like that. Just because I think it'd be really interesting to play, and there'd be so many interesting design issues with that, right? Oh man, you'd have to solve so many cool problems in order to do that. And like, I'm a software developer, and at my heart, I'm an engineer. I love solving cool problems. Uh, like I would have a field day with that, of like spending entire days just designing solutions to those problems, because it has so many cool problems in that. Because if you have no respawning, that means you have a limited amount of things, which means that you can't do a layer-based system. On your server, everything has to be on the same layer. And layers are how modern MMO servers run. They're how they operate. They're how they stay stable through. So you'd have to find other technical solutions for that. Additionally, you'd have to find good solutions for how big does my server need to be? How many monsters of each type need to be there for how many players? How do I handle uh, finding how do I prevent low-level enemies from just straight up being eradicated? And there are a lot of ways that you can do that, but those are all really interesting problems, right? Like, there's all kinds of interesting problems you can wrap into that, and it'd be such a fascinating thing to work on. It's definitely like, it's not that it's any one problem in there is particularly interesting, but it's a cascade of synchronization problems. It's a cascade of synchronization and scaling problems. Because synchronizing things is really easy to do on a small scale, but synchronizing things on a large scale is really hard to do. That's why most MMOs don't try. Once the scale gets big enough, they split things off into different layers, so that way they don't have to deal with synchronizing across those layers. They're very deliberately avoiding it. Like, that is a very deliberate design decision on their part, and it's a good one. They absolutely should be avoiding it like that. Because, to put it bluntly, it's just gonna be hard for them to do otherwise. And it's not worth the effort, in most cases, to be honest. Because every gamer accepts that things respawn, and like we accept this style because that's what was technically possible when MMOs became big. Excuse me. I had to sneeze so hard I'm getting attacked by a tiger thing. You exit your range so you can stop fighting me, please. Come on. There we go.
I need to get closer.
Okay. Now.
That's still recharging.
Go. Didn't get what I wanted, but whatever, it's fine. I'm not angry, you're angry. Anyway, so yeah, like it's... So like synchronization is really hard to do in large amounts. So most MMOs don't. In order for MMOs to operate at the scale that they do, they pretty much do it by just not synchronizing. Like that's their game plan, is they just ignore synchronization entirely. as much as possible. They carefully pick what they synchronize. And you know, like I said, all of that makes complete sense. It makes perfect sense that that's what they do. Especially since, you know, at the time when MMOs were getting big, it just wasn't possible to do it any other way. Like, even now, I'm not sure it's actually feasible to do it and make a profit, certainly. To do it at all is kind of questionable. But to make a profit off doing it, almost certainly not. I'd be very surprised if someone managed that. That's why I phrased it as if I had money to burn. Because to make a profit off of it, you have to be running a server where effectively the following is true. So this is the way that server would have to run. And we're only going to consider a single server right now, because analyzing it across, you know, multiple servers that's a lot of effort. But for a single server, the problem is as such. Life is hard and no one understands. Wait, no, wrong thing. But anyway, jokes aside, the problem is you have to keep across everyone on your server a good understanding of you have to keep synchronized across everyone what things are alive where. Now you can do that with loading zones, and most MMOs already do that. That's not the hard part. The hard part is that unlike a normal MMO, you can't unload zones entirely. So what normal MMOs do is if there's, you know, if there's not anyone in a zone, or if there's not anyone near enemies, near enough for them to be loaded in, they don't have to keep track of enemies. They can just spawn them in as someone gets near. Can't do that with this system. None of your processing saving measures will work because you have to be calculating in real time all of that. You can't just have 10 enemies in each area and call it good as long as you randomly distribute them whenever someone walks into the area. You have to be calculating, okay, this is how many of these enemies are being generated through breeding or spawning, or, well, you know, however you're generating your monsters. Probably depends on the monster and what kind of world you're building. Make it a world like Ruby where all the monsters just kind of spontaneously rise from a puddle of evil, and, you know, yeah, that you get away with a lot less calculation there, trust me, because you have a spawn point effectively, which is for these purposes a lot more convenient, and that's probably what you would go with because it's more convenient and easier to calculate. But anyway, so assuming that you did something like that, you have to be keeping track of that, and for every monster that leaves there, you have to be keeping track of their whereabouts the whole time. You can't do any cost-saving measures, or, well, the cost-saving measures you can do will be much more limited. It's not that you can't do any, but they're going to be a lot more limited in what you can do. Pretty much your cost-saving measures are going to be purely graphical, which is a lot worse than the cost-saving measures of most MMOs. Most MMOs get to do a lot of cost saving on, particularly on the realm of, let's see how to put this. So most MMOs, if an enemy isn't in sight, they can just kind of hand wave what it's doing. If no one can see it, they don't have to care. Which, in more unpopular zones, like, heck, the one I'm in right now, that's going to happen. It's going to be relatively frequent. And that means that it's going to be very convenient for them. You're welcome. I saved your friend.
I am honored.
Let's see. What here is good for me? That's good for me. That's also good for me. Good backs
That
are
is what
slightly
you
harder to
need.
find, and honestly, it helps solve my, fashion-challenged problem.
Ishnudaldiet.
Yes, give me the enchanting powers.
Elun.
Anyway, but, so yeah, you have to do a lot more, maintaining of where things are in your game. Not to mention that you'd have entire extra systems for spawning things in that other MMOs just don't even have to have, because they have a simpler system. So you're losing processing power there. And remember that we're talking about something on a server scale, and that means any processing time means money. Because it means you have to pay for a better server. So the more processing time you have to spend, the better server you need, and therefore the more money you're spending. That's why I said this is a money-burning endeavor to make this kind of MMO. To make one that works like that is just more expensive. You know, it's the price for making something that's more realistic, because if you think about it, why do enemies respawn this way in MMOs? Because it was too hard to build this kind of system. To build a realistic system was too hard, so you abstract it into a system where things just respawn. Because the more literal version of the system was too difficult to build, and that's annoying. It's okay though, I've got my trusty staff. I really wish I had a wand. Uh, but my trusty staff will do. But yeah, it's this annoying. But yeah, like I was saying, it's a scale problem. Making something like that work for your 300 closest friends, probably doable. A little expensive, but doable.
Inventory is
And if your friends were willing to pay enough, you could probably make a profit off of that. Doing that for at a scale of even just thousands or hundreds of thousands, that's getting to the point that's not doable, because you have to think, the bigger your player base, because think about it like this, if you have, if on average everyone who plays your game is playing for an hour a day on average, which if you're a popular games might actually be a little light, I don't know what the numbers for that are, so I'm not sure what kind of average I should expect, but so we'll go with that. We'll assume that it's close enough for our approximation purposes. If they're all playing an hour a day, and you're playing an MMO like this where you can kill an enemy pretty much once every, you know, if you're killing at an average pace, so enemies that are around your level, you're probably killing about one every 2 minutes normally on average. That's an average because you have to consider travel time and all, you know, all the times that you're not stabbing things. And when you're going at it really hard and you're just like, you know, really murdering things, you're probably killing things about one one enemy a minute, assuming that you're fighting things that are high enough level that you have to wait for regen afterwards. And you're playing a game where waiting for regen after a battle is a thing that actually takes time, instead of, there are some MMOs where after battle your resources might as well just immediately be full because that's how fast it'll feel. So, you know, that's a slightly different problem. So what I was trying to get at with that is if that's how many things, so you're looking at somewhere between 30 to 60 things dying in an hour per uh per player. That starts to become a problem because then you have to be figuring. So if you think about it like this area works right here. There's about 10 of this enemy, maybe a bit more, maybe up to 20 of this enemy in this little corridor. But they respawn, so there only ever needs to be those 20. In order to do this quest in that world, there would need to be hundreds of those things in order for any significant portion of your player base to get to do that quest, at least. And that's with only a player base of 300. Just think about it. I'm going to kill 10 of those things to get through that quest. And that's not even to think about, like, you know, that because of the way players go through content, there are going to be times that are more stressed and you have to have a big enough population of monsters to deal with that. And, like, that's its own problem. Like, I can't even begin to think of how you would actually solve it other than you'd need to just get playtesters together and be like, okay, we're gonna slap this together and we're gonna see how this works if you guys are playing for this amount of time each day. And, like, that's realistically about the only way that you could test that, because talking is hard. So you have to find a population level and a new population generation rate at which a couple of things are true, and they all have to stay true the whole time. That's the hard part. The first is that enough monsters are being generated that they don't get wiped out. That's hard. The second is that not so many monsters are being generated that they overrun everything, or that you have some other system in place for if too many of them get generated, something will happen to prevent the whole area from being overrun. I need to go deal with my inventory before I can turn in quests. That'll be so...
Peace be with
Excuse me, had a very sudden and strong yawn. Anyway, as I was saying, so that'll be something like... probably the best way to deal with that would be something like... you have some central... quote-unquote authority. So something like... kingdoms, or something like that. Effectively just something that has some kind of authority. That's what you're looking for. Is just any kind of consistent authority. That's all that matters for this bit. And the reason you need that is because if you have that, then what will happen is... Cry. Wait. No. So what will happen is if you have that set up, then what you'll do is whenever the numbers get too big, so what'll happen is once the numbers reach a certain point, they'll start, quests will start being generated. So let's take goblins. A small cave of goblins that keeps to themselves probably isn't going to generate any quests. But once goblins start to, say, attack nearby villagers and things like that, that'll probably start generating quests, and you can do that in a couple ways. You could build actual competent goblin AI that actually goes out and does these things, but man, again, that's a lot of processing power. Or you can approximate that by having quests start coming out once there's a certain number of goblins in the area. And so at first, these quests are just given to adventurers, you know? Like, and that's all. Like, they're just normal quests given to adventurers, and no one really cares. Otherwise, excuse me. Oh, isn't that nice? Oh man, I get to increase my physical damage. I'm so happy.
That spell isn't ready yet.
But anyway,
What brings you here? Be careful.
so as I was saying, so at a certain level, they start to generate quests which are to adventurers to go kill them. And if the adventurers kill enough of them, then they stop giving quests. If the adventurers exterminate them, they might get some kind of special reward, or you might not give a special reward because you don't want to encourage that, which would be valid, because there are going to be times when you kind of don't want them to do that. You know, it's the problem of, well, you know, every time they go and murder all of them, then we have to figure out some way for new monsters to get there, and that's a real pain. And you'd probably want GMs influencing the way your AI works, because building a system whose AI could figure all this out would be very difficult. But anyway, so the way, and then what would happen, here's the important bit. What would happen is once the numbers reached a certain amount, if you have kingdoms or NPCs or something like that, someone who's not a player character was strong enough to just go and destroy all of these things, you would have this moment where at a certain point the kingdom would send the army out or send some special NPC to go murder all of the goblins, and it would just happen. You know, over the course of half an hour or an hour or something, all these goblins would just be murdered. And that would be a way to handle it. That would solve your problem, for the time being at least. Also, I'm going to switch to another character. And, you know, let's work on trying to keep my characters at least somewhat evenly leveled, so let's work on one of the level 8s. I feel more like playing a warrior, so best warrior it is. The reason I'm trying to keep them more evenly leveled is because that way I'm spending my bonus XP more evenly instead of having what happened where my wizard was completely out of bonus XP. Like, I'm preventing that from happening by doing this. Anyway, so as I was saying, life is hard. This character has no extra bags, and that sucks.
Hello.
How does this character even live? Do they even live? Who knows, man. But anyway, so I say that so often. Never edit your own voice for any length of time. It will teach you all of the random phrases that you say repeatedly, and it will drive you insane. Because then you're super conscientious about when you do say them again, and it's just really frustrating. It's really frustrating to be hyper aware of every time you say, but anyway, yeah, it's frustrating. So, what I was saying about the other stuff, though, is you have some kind of NPC or kingdom send out an army or something to just deal with the goblins, and that gives you a way to control it. Ultimately, that is what you would need to do, for the record, is you'd have to build a system with checks and balances that are made by other NPCs in the system. Things like you might have some super powerful goblins that end up being the
May the stars
late game stuff that can be done. And what those goblins do, their function in the world, is if players try and exterminate all goblins, they effectively reinforce the goblins to prevent them from being all murdered. And that can do a lot for you, because it can help you. So, in case it's not obvious, I've thought about this quite a bit, all the implications of it, because I think because like I said earlier, it's really interesting to think about the implications of a world in which enemies don't respawn. Like, making a game where enemies don't respawn is so interesting because you have to have so many things in place for it. You have to have some kind of generator for unique enemies. For rare enemies, like... And it's rare to see a single-player game do that, much less an MMO. It would be so interesting to see that on a large scale. Like, it'd be super hard for it to be made, but it'd be so cool if it was. I love the idea of that kind of system. I would throw so much money at that game if it existed. I would throw my entire wallet at it. You know? Which, speaking of, is actually one of the ways you would make it profitable. Is probably one of the only ways to make it profitable is, instead of having it be an MMO and that it's this huge community and relatively cheap, relatively easy to access, relatively cheap, might be better off making it hard to get and expensive. Effectively raise the barrier for entry, price-wise. And the reason for that is because you need the money. In order, I don't know the exact numbers because, you know, I have no basis for calculating them. I don't know enough about everything involved, but I guarantee that the amount of money you would need per player to stay profitable is far higher than the amount of money that something like World of Warcraft needs to stay profitable on a per player basis. I have no doubt in my mind that that is a true statement. And that would definitely make things a lot more difficult for you. Because you'd have to find some way to get enough players willing to pay that much. And like, I would be willing to pay extra to be a part of that kind of MMO, but you know, I'm weird. This is literally my dream MMO. Like, you know, that's not the normal opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is not the that is not what the average person is going to think. Average person's not going to be going, "Oh yes, take my money. I want an MMO where nothing respawns." The average person's going to go, "That sounds kind of like a hassle. And I don't know, it just doesn't sound quite as special to me." Yeah.
I need to get closer.
Not to mention that in that kind of system, you'd probably almost exclusively have to move all of your rare drops onto materials, because them dropping rare weapons doesn't make as much sense. And, or to be specific, it doesn't make as much sense for them to drop the same rare weapon since things don't respawn. So what you'd probably have, so what would probably be better is to have them drop, you know, effectively, you'd be pulling a lot out of, you know, more of the they called, uh, what was that? Was that thunder? Huh. Zeo Thunder, we're all about to die, and a fiery explosion. I'm hoping thunder.
Inventory is full.
Oh, inventory's already full.
I can't carry anymore.
See, those are worth 31. Screw leg meat. Grab the chain pants. I'm gonna go sell stuff and turn it into extra bags, because my low level of bags is just not acceptable. This character got unlucky with the enemies dropping bags, and I do not have the patience to sit here and deal with him not having bags whatsoever. 0 bags is just too few bags. Like, only having the backpack, that's just, no. Not doing that. But yeah, so that kind of MMO would be super interesting, but it's also super hard to build. And like, even just the things that I mentioned just now, that's only like the surface level problems. Like, the deeper you go, like almost every facet of the way the MMOs work is affected in some major way by the fact that everything in an MMO respawns. The whole system's designed for it, and why wouldn't it be? It's an accepted trope of the genre, and an important one. It helps keep the entire system working. And so you take that away, and the entire system starts to crack at the seams.
What brings you here?
But yeah, it's definitely, like, it's super interesting, but it causes its own problems. And I got 1 bag at least. Whoops. Did not mean to do that.
Farewell.
1 bag is better than no bag, I guess. And yes, I'm aware of how wise I am with statements like that. My wisdom is transcendent.
Not enough rage.
But yeah, I'm not sure what to talk about now. Gotta talk about something, but don't know what. So something. Life is hard.
Not enough rage.
No one understands. I don't know. I honestly don't have much to talk about right now. I am feeling good though, because for the first time in like a solid 2 weeks, the size of my to-do list actually shrank today instead of growing, which is really nice. Yeah.
I need to get closer.
Yeah, it's really nice that my to-do list finally shrank instead of continuing its constant growth. Very happy with that. Oh yeah, so what I was saying about a long while ago about how I might have a day that I stream that's not World of Warcraft. Most likely thing it'll be is something like Animal Crossing or something like that. Something lighter, more fun, or more lighthearted and just chill, as compared to WoW's, you know, killing things and fighting and that. probably go for something more chill. I'm not sure what to do about Animal Crossing, because, like, on the one hand, I'm aware that streaming it is kind of pointless. Because everyone's playing it right now, right? And I'll be starting weeks behind everyone, because I just don't have the time to play it right now. On the other hand, I really did want to get it, and I do want to play it. So it's really just a matter of whether I'm going to stream me playing it or not. Like me playing it in general, already decided. Absolutely happening. Absolutely, that's a thing that's happening. There's no way that is not a thing that's happening. So like 100% that's happening. There's no real question there. Heck yeah. Thing done. Come here, Mr. Owl. Let me murder you. Time to die. Hello, Mr. Owl. Goodbye, Mr. Owl. Fortunately, Mr. Owl did not drop what I wanted. It's really unfortunate. Anyway, let's turn in recipe of the Kodari.
Goddess, watch over you.
Kodari, I don't know. Got no clue, to be honest. But anyway, so yeah, so like I really want to play Animal Crossing. I remember playing the original Animal Crossing so much as a kid. Yeah, it was lots of fun. I definitely recommend pretty much every Animal Crossing game to everyone. It's great. Guess it's not obvious, I kind of like Animal Crossing a little bit. But yeah, it's just hard to justify streaming it, because honestly, I know that that's not going to get me any views. But on the other hand, I'm not sure anything will. So, you know, like, I've had all of one person stop in and watch who I didn't personally know. One person. That's, you know, I don't think it really matters what I stream at this point in terms of growing, you know? Because at this point, the main thing I'm fighting against to grow is whether anyone finds me at all in the first place. Because right now, both here and on YouTube, I'm so far down the totem pole on that algorithm that I'm not even on the totem pole anymore. I'm underground. It's cold down here. It's damp. And I think something just bit me. And, you know, and that's just the reality of it, right? Like, the algorithms for both, you know, what makes it to the front page, what gets recommended, that's all based on views. The more views you have, the more likely you are to make it up there. The more subscribers you have, the more likely you are to make it up there. And I've got 21 subscribers and, what, followers or something? Respectively on each platform. So, like, that I wouldn't have a lot is just kind of like a duh thing, right? Like, that's just obvious. Of course, I don't have a lot of people who are, you know, of course I'm not getting recommended to a lot of people, because I just don't have a lot of people watching my stuff to begin with.
Need more raid.
And, like, there's only so much I can mitigate that, you know? It's an unfortunate thing that the friends I tend to make in real life aren't the kind of people who watch YouTube all day for the most part. And also, it's really hard to convince people who know you to watch you on YouTube. And I think that's going to be roughly true no matter how good of a content creator you are, you know? Did I really just get dazed?
Not enough
So
rage.
annoyed. I am very annoyed with that day. If I'd known I was gonna get dazed, I would have just stood my ground. Would have just fought. Probably should have just fought. I am annoyed at how things kept aggroing on me though. That was annoying. It's cause I'm not higher level than them. That's the downside of doing something like this where I'm doing mostly quests that are lower level than me. Is I develop bad habits about how close I can stand near enemies without them aggroing on me. And then something like that happens, and yeah. They definitely aggroed on me, and I was not ready for that. But yeah, that's, I don't know what else to talk about. Yeah, so right now it probably doesn't really matter what I'm streaming. That's kind of why I'm just doing whatever I want. Because honestly, it's irrelevant. There's never going to be a time when what I make is what's getting recommended. At least not for a while. Like what I'm really waiting for is for the people who actually find it interesting to look at new channels to find me, and for some of them to stick around to start that snowball effect. People like the one person who watched me on here last week.
Not enough rage.
Because that's the, you know, they just randomly found me, but they were obviously looking for new channels to watch. I'm waiting for people like that to find me. And once enough of them have found me, I might start getting recommended to bigger platforms. And until then, there's really just not much I can do.
Need more rage.
I hit things with my sword and I slap, slap, slap. I sing along to a song and it slaps, slaps, slaps. Mostly cause I'm singing it cause I'm the best. I'm putting your ears to the test. What am I even doing right now? Who knows? I'm just being... But hey, that's the fun part about being an internet personality, right? Is I get to embrace the more weird and random parts of my personality. Like that's actually like a large part of what makes this fun, right? Anyway, got that done. On to the next.
Not enough rage. Need more rage.
I hit the enemy with my sword. But yeah, it is nice to be able to just, you know, act a little wackier. It's not something that you usually get to do in life, right? Usually you have to be all reserved and normal. That's not necessarily bad, but like being able to, like, I effectively have free license to just be weird because I'm being an internet personality. I get to just act weird just because, and that's kind of nice, you know? What was that aggro range though?
Not enough rage.
That's what I want to know. Did you see that? It was ridiculous. Okay. But yeah, it's definitely, like,
Need more rage.
there's a lot of things in that. Because, like, on the one hand, you are given license to be wackier. On the other hand, you kind of have to be. I don't get to just sit here and chill while I play games. That's not what's happening here. I'm performing. I'm acting. Fundamentally. Even if what I'm acting is effectively just something very similar to how I normally am, I fundamentally still have to act. Not so much act in like the it's not really me kind of way, but more in the I don't have the option to rest or pause or any of that. I have to keep being entertaining. I have to keep being interesting. Whereas, you know, particularly so this is a one-sided conversation, right? That's what Twitch is. It's a one-sided conversation. In a two-sided conversation, normally what'll happen is one person will talk for a while, and then the other person will, you know, act normal. What'll happen is one side will talk for a while, right? And then the other person will respond. And when they're responding like that, the first person gets to rest. They get to just be the listener for a little bit. And that's not even mentioning that it ultimately feels different when you're talking to a group of people versus when you're talking to yourself. Like, fundamentally, at the end of the day, I'm on a stage.
I can't attack
That's what
that
this
target.
is. No matter how much be on Twitch, you know, we're building communities and all that, yeah. And that's true. They are communities, and the people who are part of them can definitely at least have the possibility to be considered my friends.
I am honored.
And that's definitely true, but still, at the end of the day, I'm the one on the stage. I have to be the entertainer. I have to be the life of the party at all times. And that is tiring. You know, and that's just the way it is. Like, I'm not even a channel that gets consistent views yet, and I know that that's how Twitch works. Just because I've seen enough other streamers talk about it and experience it and all that. Like, listen to how any of them talk about this, and it'll be obvious that that's just how it is. Yeah, there's not much that can be done about that either. Like, that's the way it should be, to be honest. That's the medium. Like, that's the idea.
Greetings.
Is that I'm the entertainer here. You're all coming to be entertained. That's the premise, right? That's what you're all here for. Is to be entertained. And I might do that by working with guys to build a community. Like, that's definitely possible, but that's not the let me put it this way, that's not the whole story. Fundamentally, the community is still going to be centered around me, what I'm doing, and how I'm entertaining. Because that's the nature of the medium. I'm the only one who gets to talk. Verbally. I'm the only one who has the option of being on camera. You know, at a fundamental level, I'm the one in control of this space. I'm the one who decides what is allowed here. And all that. And, you know, the list goes on and on of why it's centered on me, but I don't think we really need to go that far into the list, because it's obvious, right?
Till next we
It's
meet.
obvious that that's how this works, and it's designed to work like that. So, you know, obviously. It better be helpful in your experiments. Give me my
I am
quest.
honored. Good luck, friend. Ishnu Allah.
Anyway. Sprouts 2. Thanks.
I'm out of range. Not enough range.
Okay. But yeah, Twitch is definitely an interesting place. The whole idea of streaming and how all of this works is definitely super interesting. Like, just conceptually. And the reason it feels interesting to me is because it's not normal to me. Fundamentally, my idea of normalcy is still ingrained in a time from before streaming was a thing. I'm just old enough that that's true, and I really do mean just old enough. People even a year or two younger than me probably don't have that experience. Like, even people among my generation may have gotten into YouTube and things a little earlier than me, and so might be their experience that this is just normal. But it definitely feels weird. And it's so on something about roughly related. So I'll explain the relation first. So what I was just talking about it feeling weird to me is based on the fact that
Need more range.
the relation between me and my sense of normalcy doesn't include things like streaming. Because when I was first growing up, they didn't exist. On a related note, laws and the way companies handle things have not at all caught up with streaming and YouTube and ugh. And you know, it makes sense. 30 years ago even, so which is a relatively recent time. Like 30 years ago is legitimately not that much older than me. In order to distribute videos to large groups of people, more than just the people that you knew, you had to be a big studio. And that's the closest example, is you had to be an actual production company in order to do that. You couldn't do it otherwise. 30 years ago was 1990. And then, well, while things were stored digitally, computers as they exist now weren't a thing yet. Home computers were just beginning to come into style in the early 90s. Some families had them at that point, certainly, but everyone having one that was everyone having devices that were capable of reading video from whatever you stored it on and playing it? No. That didn't happen for another decade. And it's when you start thinking about things like that like it all kind of starts to fall into place. Because like the reason I'm talking about this, the reason I think about it in the first place, is because laws haven't caught up with that reality. Copyright laws were built to be handled between companies. Licensing was built to be handled between companies that had teams of lawyers. And not some guy dancing to music in his living room. Then uploads that video to YouTube, and that music happens to be copyrighted and not be under a license where it can be distributed in that way. That's just not what the law was built for. And right now YouTube and other streaming services have some ways around that with creator ID and things like that. But fundamentally, they're not very well adjusted as of yet. Like, they just aren't. On a side note, so Not exactly a side note, it's whatever. Anyway, so streaming games and recording gameplay of games right now exists in a legal gray area. In that if it were taken to court, it probably wouldn't fall under fair use under existing copyright. Under existing copyright laws, it is probably... let me put it this way. I wouldn't expect to win that court case. I just wouldn't. On the other hand, though, they can't prove damages, so... You know, it only matters if you're a YouTube channel that's made a bunch of money. For someone like me who hasn't, it's irrelevant, you know? Because they can't, there's no damage done by me distributing it. You know what I mean? There's no way that they can show damages, and honestly, it's not worth anyone, to any company, the goodwill that would lose from the gaming community to ever try to enforce that part of their copyright. It's just not worth it, right? Because, yeah, sure, they might get some money from whatever YouTubers they sue, but everyone else in the gaming community now hates their guts for going after their favorite YouTuber. And, you know, and that's just the beginning of the backlash that such a thing would cause. But I digress. So what I was getting at with that is that right now that's where we legally exist, and you know, I've accepted that it's a volatile thing. There's a reason I'm not planning on being a full-time YouTuber anytime soon. The reason I've explicitly made this just a thing I do for fun, not a thing that I ever intend to really have be my sole income or anything like that. But so what I was getting at with that is that companies could just fix the problem. Like, imagine if gaming companies just said, okay, if you want to stream our game, then you can, or, you know, more realistically, companies say, okay, if you want to stream our game and you're going to be making any money off of it, you have to pay an extra licensing fee, probably some relatively small amount, since there's so many small YouTubers and streamers, probably something like either they'll take a cut, so like a 5% cut or something, probably organized directly through YouTube or that, or they'll ask for some flat amount, like an extra $5 or an extra $10 when you buy the game. And you know, I'd be okay with all of that, to have the certainty that I have an agreement with the company that they cannot later sue me for doing that. I hate this kind of gray area, because it feels like the companies are just waiting for some instance where it's worth it to sue. You know? Like, why haven't they done that? There's no way their lawyers don't realize that they could do that. There's no way their profit analysis hasn't revealed that they might be able to make some money off doing that. Like, and not only that, but it's kind of the right thing to do. Because effectively, at that point, you're paying to advertise for them, and really they're getting a pretty good deal there. So they should just take that and walk with it, you know? Like that's good enough.
Elune be with you.
They should just take that and work with it. I have the seeds, yes. Let me hit continue. Oh, I do not have the seeds. I thought I got the last seed from the last enemy, but apparently I did not. So let me go kill or the Skaz and hopefully get the seed from that one. But yeah, it's definitely like, it could be, they could make it a lot better. Like, they could make... They have the power to fix the problem. Like, that could just become a standard. A standard thing in the gaming industry. If a couple of big game companies did it, it just would be.
How may I
And
help?
they don't even need to work directly with creators. They could just work directly with
Goddess,
big
go
things like YouTube and Twitch and just say, well, okay, so here are the rules for if someone wants to stream our stuff, and
alone
in
light
order
your
to get stuff discovered on YouTube and Twitch, you generally do what I did, where you select your category. In other words, you select directly what game you're playing, which makes that super, super easy to enforce. We're practically doing it for them. And that would be so, so easy to do. It really wouldn't take much time at all. But they don't. And honestly, I don't understand why. Like, I legitimately don't get why that's not a thing that they have already done. It would be easy. It'd get them plenty of goodwill with the gaming community, so long as they didn't charge too much for it. And it would make it so that way YouTubers like me, especially YouTubers like me, so YouTube isn't something I'm using to make money. But I do have money, and I'm planning on being a software developer, which means I will continue to have money. And I don't like that I'm effectively taking a financial risk where they could sue me, make me hire a lawyer. They probably wouldn't be able to actually get any money from me aside from maybe the legal fees, but that's still money that I'm losing, that I would lose in that situation, purely because I wanted to be on YouTube? That, I don't know, that doesn't sit right with me. That's happening when they could just very easily just say, here, pay us this money, and you can, record yourself playing the game. And distribute that as much as you want. Not to mention that that would require that they solve other problems. Where, like, for example, so I got a copyright notice. Not a strike, but a copyright notice on some of my Final Fantasy VII Remake videos. Because they didn't have so they had distribution rights for the video game, but not distribution of distribution rights. However you should phrase that. Effectively, they didn't have, because of the way those rights worked, I don't have the right to include the music in my recording of it. Because they didn't get that. And if they were doing this, then they would have to get that. And oh boy, would that make life easier. So many ways. And it continues to bother me that they haven't. Yeah, I must find a teacher.
Good luck, friend. What brings you here?
I require warrior training. Give me that training. Oh yeah, that's right. That's the stuff. Oh yeah, there it is. That's the training I need.
Farewell.
Heck yeah. Okay, let's go manage my inventory. And then once I've managed my inventory, I should not sell earth. Once I've managed my inventory, I am going to take a nap. No.
The loon light your path.
I'm going to look at my inventory and be sad. That's what I'm going. I'm also going to regret not having dinner before streaming. That's definitely true. So I've been going to bed at like 7 or 8 p.m. the last couple of days. So if you're wondering why I seem so tired right now, it's because this has become my bedtime. So if you want to know why I'm going to bed at 7 or 8, I have a hard time sleeping sometimes. And I also have a very hard time going to bed early. Which you might be thinking, but you just told me you're going to bed at 7. That doesn't add up. I'll get there. So, a downside of having a hard time sleeping, and particularly having a hard time going to bed early, is that the only way for me to realign my circadian rhythm is to slowly stay up later and later, and swing all the way back around. Because I can't just go to bed an hour early. It doesn't work. If I try, nothing happens. I just sit there awake for an hour and then I go to bed at my normal time. It's not a very pleasant experience to sit in bed awake for an hour. Like, that's not fun. It's not interesting. I've just wasted an hour. Anyway, but so I've always had trouble with that. With getting to bed early. So what I have been doing, therefore, is what I mentioned, where I said I can do it the other way. So, on Saturday, I had stayed up all night. That's why I was so tired for that stream. At the end of that stream, I did the sleeping. And then I woke up at like midnight. So that was my sleep. That was when I slept on Saturday. It was from 3 to midnight. So, great time. Great times to sleep. Ooh, nice. But anyway. So, great times to sleep. All was well with the world. Anyway, where I was going with that is nowhere, probably. But we're gonna pretend I was going somewhere with that anyway. I don't remember, honestly. Anyway, so every day I've been trying to stay up like an hour later. An hour or two later every day. To slowly push my sleeping time back to, the normal time of like, I usually sleep from like midnight to 8, on a quarter where I don't have an 8 a.m. class. So, that's what I'm going for, is midnight to 8. And if you're wondering why midnight to 8, it's because I can't let myself get in the habit of sleeping in too late because I'm in a teaching program. Which, most quarters means that I'm in schools. Not this quarter, obviously. Which, thankfully, I was taking a theory class instead of a practicum class this quarter anyway. But anyway, so that's, that's why if I seem tired right now, and if I seem tired on Saturday, that's why. So, like, I'll probably be, like, after I stream, I'm probably going to immediately eat food and go collapse into bed. That's my day. Call it good after that. Yeah, that's all I got. That's,
Not enough rage. Need more rage.
I don't know what else to talk about. Fish are great. I probably shouldn't let him. probably a bad plan. There we go. Okay, now that my health has come back, let us continue on. So, I was just watching, a couple days ago. Oh, what's his name? I don't remember. But it's someone who's been popping up on my YouTube suggestions recently. And I was watching him do a no XP run of Black, of Pokemon Black, I think. And he did it in one sitting, and that was, I think it came out to something like a 15 or 16 hour stream. And man, I could never do that. Like, that's just not happening, you know? Like, I could not make that all my waking hours for a day. That's, no. That's too much. That's more than I can do. I can't do that. It's too much for me. I stab this Grell in the face repeatedly, and yet in front of me stands as if I was not in the process of murder. So, I guess I go look around at his other spawn point for this guy, since he's not at that one. Which is annoying. Gosh darn it, Melanus. There he is. The one time I don't bother looking over to see if he's at this spawn point, he was at this spawn point. That's just saddening, you know?
Need more rage.
No thank you. Mr. Vicious Grell, would you please die? Thank you. I disapprove of how that went down. Apparently I should have waited for my potion cooldown. Have to remember that I'm a warrior and that means that I don't get options. And that my only real option in bad situations is die. Speaking the real truths. Got distracted looking at, reminding myself what the specifics of Blood Rage were. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of admire the guy for having done that 16-hour stream, but on the and like he didn't even seem like it was that big of a deal. He seemed kind of casual about it, you know. Like on the one hand, I admire that. On the other hand, he's absolutely insane. was a nice crit. That's just about the only cool trick that warriors get. What I did right there. Where you charge and then hamstring and run away. As a way to get through enemy areas more quickly. That's literally about the only cool trick that warriors get. That on 6, that way that trick's easier to do on the gamepad. They stopped chasing me already. Come on. There we go. Anyway, yeah. So, life is hard. No one understands, and I could not understand someone streaming for 16 hours. Maybe it's the maybe that guy's an extrovert, because like I'm fundamentally an introvert, and like I like streaming, I like interaction, I think this is all fun. But at the end of the day, I have to stop. Like, I have to stop and rest and not be doing this for a while, or I would go insane. And, man, it sounds daunting to me to do, like, an 8-hour stream. That's in the realm of what I think I could do. And maybe even what I think I would do. But, like, that still sounds kind of daunting. So, like, I can't even imagine doing a 16-hour one, you know? These boots are worth slightly more. Ah. Yeah. I don't know what to talk about next, and no one's watching, so I can't ask for topics. Life is hard, man. Life is hard. We just keep on running the jungle into death. Into death we to pray. Death of our enemies, that is, for sure, maybe. Maybe not. But hopefully. If you ever wondered if I'm an absolute dingus, that was your answer. That's all I have to say. Fine, you stupid Night Saber, I'll kill you if you insist. Why are these things aggro on me from so far away? They barely even give me XP. Do they even give me XP at this point? Yes, okay, they still give me XP at least. There's a mystic. Pick with the stabbing.
Need more rage. Not enough rage.
Life is hard, man. And what I really want is to take a nap, but that's not an option, so my only real option is to fight the enemy, defeat the enemy, and then go on with my life. Let's hope that this goes well. Not confident it will, but certainly gonna try. Oh, that was a nice crit. That might be the crit I needed. Another crit. Life is good right now. Life is good and it's full of crits. Hey. Easy. Easy game, easy life. Okay. Let's go and kill some more enemies. You know, when I think about how long the journey I'm on is going to take, I cry inside. It's like, think about it. I'm just on Alliance. I've been streaming mainly Alliance for weeks now. And I don't even have everyone over level 10 yet.
Not enough rage.
I'm going all the way up to 60 and then doing all the quests available at 60. Man,
I don't have a
life is hard. Okay, I gotta wait for my health to regenerate and regret not having any more food. Well, it's not the worst regret to have. Gosh darn it, how'd that aggro that warrior? Let's make sure I'm not getting flanked. I don't need to be. Okay, work with me here, game. Work with me here. Best warrior, you can do it, you're the best. Yeah, good job, best warrior. Have an apple. But no, let it not be said ever that I am a harsh master. I give my warrior an apple after he does well. So long as he picked it up off the corpse of the enemy that he just killed. If he didn't just get an apple off the corpse of an enemy, I cannot guarantee that he will get an apple after doing it. It's only when there was one on the corpse of the enemy that I can guarantee his apple reward.
Need more rage. Not enough rage.
I do a little stabbing with extra death. A little grabbing with extra breath. Yeah, that didn't quite make sense, but we keep on singing anyway through every day, no matter how gray. Oh, it's today. What am I doing with my voice? It's such a waste of choice. Making up lyrics on the spot is kind of hard, especially if you're going for every rhyme. Thinking of the lyrics is really hard to do in time. I don't know, man. I just know that life is hard. Nobody understands, and that's probably the best song I've written spontaneously in weeks. Not lyrics-wise. Those lyrics were trash. But the tune was pretty solid. Uh, if a little derivative. But hey. Yeah. Um... Yeah, modern copyright's a really broken system. That's just a general statement I'm gonna make. Like, modern copyright and patents and all of that, it's broken, man. It's a system that's broken by people who want to make money and not designed for any semblance of
Peace be with
fairness or actually wanting a good law that solves more problems than it creates. And if you want more detail, especially on the patent thing, there's a great documentary. I think it's called Patent Wars. That covers what I'm referring to there. It's something I'm aware of because, well, I'm someone who makes things, particularly who will one day, you know, be a part of making code, and that could involve, you know, inventions and things, which are what patents are usually for. And it's a mess what people have managed to patent.
What brings you here?
The gist of it is that some ridiculous percentage above 99% of patents are done through one specific district in Texas. Which, when you stop and think about that, that's ridiculous. That's definitely not where all of those inventions happen. But people deliberately file there because they can request your physical presence in the courtroom. Which means that if I'm someone in Washington who makes something, and someone sues me saying, hey, you need to give me money because I patented so and so thing in what you're doing, just no matter how ridiculous it is. In order to even fight that from a legal standpoint, I have to fly to Texas and hire legal counsel there. And that's not even mentioning that anyone who's doing this kind of thing in Texas is well known in those parts, so, you know, you're going somewhere else to someone else's home turf to do this court case in person. And that already the expenses are ridiculous just to get there. At that point, you're fighting on principle. You're not fighting to win. Because it doesn't matter. You've already lost. Because you've already had to spend more to get to them than was worth it in the first place. It's ridiculous. And what'll happen is they'll tell you, you know, here, the flight might be $800, but look, pay me $500 for what I've patented, and we'll call it good. And a lot of people will just be like, yeah, fine, I don't care to fight this. It's not worth my time. And the fact that that can even be a thing that's done is really stupid.
Need more rage. Not enough rage.
And it's a dumb problem. And that's just the tip of the iceberg on that. Like, that's just the thing at the top of the thumb. That's the tip. It only gets worse from there. I definitely recommend Patent Wars. It's interesting. Assuming that that's even the name of it. If I didn't remember the name correctly, then oops, oh well. You know, not much I can do about that. That reminds me, there was a there was a court case that I saw someone on YouTube talking about where where it was who was it? I am forgetting the details. It was some big artist was sued by another big artist for having a similar background uh background line. And that's ridiculous, right? Like, what? That's not at all how that works. It hurt my soul to see that someone even tried to do that. No, the worst part was they got someone with a PhD in musicology to testify that, oh yeah, it's very unique, so like they should totally be able to sue them for money. And like, no, no, you can't patent any kind of background line ever. That's no.
Hello.
Patenting melodies, fine, but you did not invent that background line, I guarantee it. Show me your resolve. The satyr Vorlus Vilehoof found one of our remote moonwells, southeast of the Benethil Barrow Den. Now splashed within it, defiling its pure waters with his filth. Find Vorlus at the moonwell and destroy him. Bring me his horn as proof, and I will begin your advanced training as a warrior. The path to the moonwell is hidden well, best warrior, but stay focused and alert and you will find it. Okay, cool. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like something I'm definitely not doing today, but sounds like a plan. Mostly because I'm just about out of bonus XP on this character. I really want to take a nap. It sounds so good. Stream might cut early today if there's no one tuning in. Right now there still isn't anyone. So, stream might cut out early.
I am listening.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna cut the stream here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.